Are you ready to launch a spaceship?
Yes, master.
You know the plan?
For the 18,000th time. Yes.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Await my signal.
This could take a while. I wish I thought to bring something to read. Oh, wait. My Kindle.
I used to be a plain, ordinary film critic, but somehow weird stuff started happening around me. I found a childhood toy who rules an underground kingdom from out of my basement. I fought a giant straight out of a kid's storybook and met a magical winter elf. But right now, I'm being forced to complete a checklist of TV and movie genres so I can save all of existence with the power of snarky film commentary.
Uncle Jess, I bet you're excited to review more Star Trek.
Well, I'd rather watch a bad episode of any Star Trek show than a good episode of Blake's Seven, if that's what you mean.
What's Blake 7?
Blake 7, trust me, you don't want to know. Actual Nick would agree with this here. You really don't want to know.
Where's Matt? I talked to him the other day. He said he'd be joining us.
I don't know. You want me to call him?
Nah. Let's just get on with it.
I'll run the comms program in the background. You guys aren't going to notice anything.
Okay.
Beep, 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 boop, 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 boop.
Our story begins with Hoshi and Trip making it to the final round of Legend of the Hidden Temple. No, wait, it's just some planet they're on. It's a civilization of cave people who have disappeared. Either that, or the Great Gazoo accidentally nuked Bedrock.
Okay, he's answering.
Sorry I'm late. I had a long night.
Well, we already started, so you'll have to take the transporter.
Transporter?
Yeah, I sent you the box in the mail.
Wait, really? Because all I got was a pie plate, an HDMI cable, some old duct tape, a little thingy to convert HDMI to USB, and some scribbles on a McDonald's napkin?
The words you're looking for are build your own transporter kit.
That does not sound safe. I could just drive.
Which takes 45 minutes. I'll be done by then.
I could use my magic to bring him here.
With those temporal anomalies, not a good idea.
Just get on the transporter pad.
Fine.
Now.
But I was just getting to the part where Archie realizes he's invited both Betty and Veronica to the
Fire.
Archer calls. He says a storm is rolling in, so they should get to the shuttle pod and take off pronto. But the storms are getting worse. Hoshi asks, can't we just wait in the caves until it blows over? DePaul says, we're detecting polaric bursts, so no. Archer says, going through one of those would be like, have you ever left a hot dog in the microwave just a tad too long? Yeah, not good. It looks like we're gonna have to use the transporter.
Hoshi says, transporter, transporter. Nobody said anything about using the transporter when I signed up for this mission. Trip says, look, Captain Archer has done it. Reed has done it twice. If it'll make you feel any better, I'll go first. And what do you know? Easy peasy. So...
Matt? Where'd you go, buddy? That is weird. I guess I'm doing this episode on my own then. Doesn't matter. It's Hoshi's turn, and she's fine. The episode skips Faith of the Heart and goes right into Archer's theme.
You wish.
A little while later, Hoshi is in her quarters washing up. She notices something on her face isn't quite right. But the doorbell rings. We've already established that Archer can just walk into people's quarters. So she has about 10 seconds to put on a robe. She says, I was just about to go up to the bridge for my shift. Archer says, nah, I think you've already had enough excitement for one day. Besides, T'Pol is predicting better weather tomorrow. You and Trip are going to have to go down in Shuttle Pod 2 in order to retrieve Shuttle Pod 1. And if you're lucky, you can complete that planetary survey. Hoshi says, oh, do I have to? Archer says, no. You aren't chicken, are you? She says, no. But if I get my molecules rambled by the transporter again, maybe. Archer asks, who said anything about using the transporter? She goes to the mess hall.
I'm hungry.
She comes across the guys swapping stories. Travis wants to know what using the transporter was like. She says, I haven't felt like myself since I rematerialized. Look, I'm no hypochondriac, but maybe I should go to sickbay and ask Flock if there are any diseases associated with the transporter.
Hold on just 1 second. I'm gonna go check something.
Reed says, you mean apart from what happened to Cyrus Ramsey? Hoshi says, who? Trip replies, how can you have gone through Starfleet survival training without hearing about this? The first guy to undergo long-range transport. They say on a foggy night you can still hear the chimes of his molecules trying to reassemble. Hoshi goes to sickbay. She looks for Phlox and can't find him. She turns around and all of a sudden, there he is. He claims he was off feeding his medical leeches. She sighs with relief. Then she tells him about her problems. He scans her with his tricorder and says, well, according to this, you're fine. She says, really? Because my birthmark moved. Phlox sighs. Ugh. By about a centimeter. It's not gone completely. Good thing, too. This machine could put my cousin's cosmetic surgery practice out of business. Hoshi goes to sleep. She thinks she's only been out for a few minutes, but T'Pol calls saying she's needed on the bridge. It's 1100 hours, which is bad. Hoshi's shift was supposed to begin at 0800. She runs up there as fast as she can and tries to explain things to Archer. But he blows her off. He says, we have bigger problems. The aliens from the planet have Trip and Travis. T'Pol says they think those soil and rock samples are sacred relics. Hoshi asks, how can you possibly know that? Archer calls down to the planet. Hoshi monitors the universal translator, but it's only spitting out gibberish. Reed says, couldn't you try, I don't know, talking to them? She gets on the line and sings, ooh ee ooh ah ah, ting tang, walla walla bing bang. The aliens reply, Louie Louie. Hoshi says, I want to try the translator again. Archer says, you've already proven that you're useless. You might as well take a sick day. Then we get a scene that would have made 22-year-old me want to watch Enterprise. If he wasn't busy catching a train from Baltimore to DC in order to be home for Thanksgiving. Hoshi in the shower. Too bad she's phasing.
Well, considering 22-year-old you had a thing for Kitty Pryde, I didn't think that would be an issue.
No comment. Anyway, Hoshi decides to go to the mess hall to have lunch with T'Pol. She says, hey, shouldn't you be on the bridge dealing with that hostage crisis? T'Pol says, no, that's over now. Hoshi says, really? Because it was only an hour ago. T'Pol says, Crewman Baird found the alien's language in our database under Ovaltine decoder pin. Hoshi says, funny, because when I tried that, their message said, be sure to drink your Ovaltine. T'Pol says, no biggie. We gave back the samples. They let Trip and Trappist come home. Don't worry about it. Hoshi says, okay then, I'll go back up to the bridge. T'Pol asks, why? You're not communications officer anymore. Captain Archer gave the job to Crewman Baird. Hoshi heads for the turbo lift. She hears Trip saying, come on, Hoshi, you can do it. Since he's not there, she decides to go see Phlox. Only this time, he appears to have been waiting for her. She says, can you see me? He says, of course I can. Why wouldn't I? She says, ever since the transporter, things have been going weird. The steward, whose job it is to clean up after Porthos, has linguistic skills that make me seem like the 45th president. I'm phasing through objects. And nobody likes me. Phlox says, well, if you're going to mock Anton York, who I'm told was one of America's greatest presidents, simply because he overcame a childhood stutter, of course no one's going to like you. Hoshi says, Anton York? I thought he was the 55th president. That's another screw up. Damn you, transporter! Phlox says, no. Don't go blaming that on the transporter. Throughout the history of your planet, people have blamed social ills on things just because they were new. They blamed increases in crime on jazz music and comic books. They blamed men cheating on their wives on nylons. They blamed decreased popularity of certain organized religions on something called Dungeons and Dragons? Anyway, I think in a century or two, people will call whatever you're doing now just as silly. I agree with Captain Archer. You need more rest. So, how about some drugs? Hoshi says, no.
Somewhere, the cartoon all-stars are proud of her.
She goes to the gym. She sees Trip in the acrobatics gyroscope. She says, I'm sorry I fucked up the translation. He says, Travis and I are fine, so no problemo. She says, no, I screwed up. He assures her, everyone has an off day. You just need a new perspective. Here, get in the gyro wheel. She says, nah, I get motion sickness. I'll stick to lifting weights. Trip says, suit yourself. She asks him, hey, have you been alright since the transporter? Trip says, you mean apart from the kidnapping? Yeah, why do you ask? She says, because I felt weird. He says, Phlox is probably right. It's all psychological. You just need some rest. I'm gonna hit the showers. Of course, as soon as he's out of sight, she phases again. She can't lift weights, the doors won't open, and even her reflection looks wonky in the mirror. Eventually, she passes out like anyone who's ever tried to watch more than 20 minutes of a Lifetime movie. Trip and T'Pol come in. Hoshi says, thank God. The doors wouldn't open. But they act like she's not there. Trip says, this is the last place the computer says she was, and I know she was here because I saw her. But since we're alone, hey T'Pol, do you wanna... T'Pol says, Commander, I'm sorry, but we're not in Season 3 yet. Hoshi says, hello, I'm right here. Trip says, I'd better go recalibrate the biosensors. They go to see Phlox. He says, yeah, she complained something was wrong the other day. I scanned her, and she seemed fine. She said the same thing last night, but I didn't take it too seriously. When I found out she was missing, I double-checked something, and whoa! Her molecules were more scrambled than an Egg McMuffin. Trip checks the transporter. He says, uh-oh, it looks like the phase coils were out of alignment. Archer asks, meaning? T'Pol says, and since Sato didn't lose touch with reality, reality lost touch with her. Trip says, good one. Wait, no. That's not funny at all. I should have made her beam up first. I was in command of the mission. I have a responsibility to... T'Pol tries to calm him down. Archer says, I want the transporter taken offline. Starfleet promised us nothing like this would ever happen. We aren't leaving orbit until we find Hoshi. Phlox says, about that. She could remain intangible for a little while, but by now, most of her scattered molecules would be embedded in the hull. And those that aren't, well, if I may be tactful. Do we have any paper towels? We're gonna need them. Hoshi tries to tell everyone she's still alive, but nobody can hear her.
So it's like a regular episode of Enterprise?
Archer says, fine, we'll recalibrate the internal sensors, but we'll resume course. Then he goes to his ready room to figure out how to break the news to Porthos.
Don't you mean her parents?
Hey, I'm not saying her parents don't have a right to know. But do you see either of them getting licensed Enterprise merchandise? I didn't think so. Trip and Phlox scan a corridor with a medical tricorder. They think they found something. Hoshi tries to tell them it's not her, but since they can't see or hear her, they keep looking. She phases into the Jeffries tube on the other side of the wall. She hears voices. At first, it's that alien gibberish. But it continues with Reed saying, the matter stream is too unstable. Phlox and Trip find what they're looking for. The largest coherent sample of the remains of Hoshi. They even confirm it with a DNA scan. They're happy their friend's family will at least have something to bury. Even if it is a vial of snot. Once Phlox leaves, Trip starts talking to Hoshi. At first, she thinks the fact that they beamed through the same storm, combined with subspace variances in the warp field allows him to see her. But nope, he's just voicing his grief. It's more of that commanding officers have a duty to protect their subordinates' bullshit and whatnot. She hears more voices and follows them. She finds these lizard guys who are not, and I repeat, not albino Suliban, plugging in LJN Roland rockers all over the ship. She knows this can only spell disaster and tries to warn Archer. But as I said, he can't see or hear her. Crewman Baird says, "We've managed to get a signal to Tokyo. You can call Hoshi's family now." Mr. Sato says, "Captain Archer, is everything all right?" Archer says, "No, we've had an accident with our transporter." Sato says, "Transporter?" Archer explains, it's a machine that tears an object apart on the molecular level and reassembles it somewhere else. Think of it as a combination fax machine and 3D printer. Mr. Sato says, "And you're explaining this to me because..." Archer says, "We had to perform an emergency transport on an away team. I hate to tell you this, but your daughter is, well, kinda dead." She realizes some of the time she faces through electronic devices, there's a momentary power disruption. So she sticks her finger through Captain Archer's smoke detector. He notices this and calls DePaul in. He says, "Hey, does that look like Morse code to you?" DePaul says, "Yup. It says SOS Hoshi. But that device is on an independent circuit, so no one outside this room could possibly send a message. I'm sure it's a complete coincidence." Archer says, "Cool, I just needed a second opinion." Man, if something like that happened to me, I would at least double check, just to be absolutely sure.
Jess, I'm getting intermittent static on my communications, right?
We'll fix it after the review.
Are you sure? It seems to form a message. IA, Yamye, Ray, Yirhe, at May.
What? What was that about Aunt May? The lizard guys finished setting up their accordion hero controllers. Since no one else is doing anything about this, Hoshi decides to use her newfound abilities to save the ship. Of course, they notice her. They beam one more device in. Then they hop on their pogo balls and beam away. Hoshi hears Reed say, "The matter stream is too unstable." And Trip says, "Come on, Hoshi, you can do it." Then for no fucking reason, she hops on the pogo ball and rematerializes in the Enterprise's transporter room. Trip and Reed say, "Welcome back, Hoshi." She says, "We've got to stop them. The aliens from the planet are going to blow up the ship." Trip says, "What aliens from the planet?" Hoshi says, the ones who abducted you and Travis." Trip says, "Hoshi, what the fuck are you talking about? You've been in the pattern buffer for the last 8 seconds." Hoshi says, "My god, that is lazy writing. It could be worse. I could have wound up like Cyrus Ramsey." Trip asks, "Who?" They take her to sickbay. Flock says, "I know this isn't going to make you feel any better because it is exactly what I said in your dream, but you're fine." Archer says, "Look on the bright side. When push came to shove, You got on the alien transporter to save the ship. I think you're over your fear. Hoshi says, yeah, but that doesn't mean I ever want to use the transporter again. And that's it. That's the episode.
I am confused. Why does he wear that hat? Is he some kind of royalty? Ah! Something went wrong with the weapons control. I better hyperport back to home for repairs.
By the 9 orbs of Bajor, does this episode have problems? I know the best way to tell a story is to start at the beginning. I feel the best way to dissect this story is to start with that ending. And it's territory we visited on this show before. All the way back in Season 0, Episode 1, Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla. That's right, we're talking about the dreaded "it was all a dream" trope. There are ways to make dreams work in an ongoing series. You can have some of the crazier elements pop up in the real world of the story. Or you can dive deeper into the character. I think they really tried to do that, but the "you wake up late for a test" cliche was the best they could come up with. Combine that with the sense of isolation that Hoshi had even before the accident, and you almost got something. But no, wait. She had already forged a strong friendship with T'Pol by that point. Not to mention whatever was supposed to be going on with her and Travis that never quite happened. It sort of feels like this should have been a first season episode. The problem with dream endings is there are no stakes. The character wakes up whenever the writer has trapped themselves in a corner. This tends to be the result of being an inexperienced writer. But with this episode, that's not the case. It was written by Rick Berman and Brannon Braga. The two of them have probably written more episodes of Star Trek than Gene L. Coon, Gene Roddenberry, and Dorothy C. Fontana combined. I have to give Braga and Berman props for one thing. This isn't a comes-out-of-nowhere dream ending like Wizard of Oz or Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla. The voices Hoshi hears when she's alone. The way time doesn't move the way that it should. The way the transporter is written doesn't match how it's supposed to work in any other episode of any Star Trek series. It took me a few viewings, but I realized that these are not nits for a pedantic Star Trek fan to pick. They're dream logic. They're clues that should let a pedantic Star Trek fan know what's what. So if this dream story isn't a mistake made by an inexperienced writer, what is it? I'll tell ya, it's good old creative bankruptcy. I have other reasons to suspect this. This story feels like I've seen it before, And that's because I have. Sorta. It's a combination of 3 different episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. The most obvious being Season 5's The Next Phase, in which, much like Hoshi, Ro and Geordi are turned into ghosts. Only for them it happens in the teaser and it's not a slow burn. Hoshi's freak out with the transporter reminds me of Reg Barkley in The Realm of Fear, and that ending invokes Season 7's Eye of the Beholder. It is not hard to see why the consensus of Enterprise fans say there's a dead heat for worst episode of Enterprise Season 2 between Vanishing Point, Dawn, and Night in Sickbay. Between the 3 of them, I'd have to say Night in Sickbay is the best, but only because it's the only one that isn't a remake.
And this is why I didn't want to use the transporter.
Gee, man, what happened to you?
No. You do not get to pull this shit with me, okay? I'm in no mood.
Well, while you were in the bathroom or whatever, you missed the whole thing.
Oh.
Don't worry. Maybe you can come by when I watch one of the other 2 episodes of Enterprise I'm going to review.
What episode do we have next time?
The Cogenitor.
Jess? The transporter is busted. How am I supposed to get home?
Uber? UPS! Yeah, UPS would probably be cheaper. But, I don't think Legal Eagle would approve.
Timestrack Hypertrain, going from Big Rock, Candy Mountain, in the 6th dimension, Washington, D.C., Earth, in the 4th dimension, now arriving. Please have your boarding passes ready.
Ralph, that's us.
How long does this trip take again?
2 hours less than however long the gap is between episodes, give or take.
And I'm sure nothing can possibly go wrong between now and then. I wonder what Gizmo is dreaming about.
Like and subscribe! Like and subscribe! Like and subscribe!
And remember, to really help this channel grow, visit patreon.com/ParodyErrorFilms and become a patron today.